This conference will now be recorded.
Wow, that's official. All right, well, welcome everybody to the ninth installment of our NWBA webinar series. And before we get started, I'd just like to say thank you to ABC Medical, who is the presenting sponsor of this webinar series. And it's really apropos that ABC would be the sponsor for this because not only are they a medical product provider, which helps a lot of individuals in our sport, but they've also invested a lot in the game, helping a lot of grassroots programs and community-based programs continue to become more stable as supporters of those programs out in the community. So not only do they support the NWBA at a national level, but they do a great job getting involved at a local level. And I'd really encourage you all, if you're not familiar with ABC, to go and learn a little bit more about them. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to meet me yet, or that I haven't had a chance to meet you, my name's Will Waller. I'm the CEO of the NWBA. I've been with the organization both as a player and now as an administrator for a quarter of a century, which just sounds crazy to put it in those terms, but I couldn't be more proud to be a member of this organization as we continue to try to reach more people and have more impact. And that's really the essence of what we're going to get into tonight. But before we dive into the specific content tonight, which is on how to successfully organize a peer-to-peer campaign, just want to touch on a couple of housekeeping items. I hope that everyone could make sure that your microphone is on mute and that you keep it that way to reduce the background noise throughout the presentation. If you have questions throughout this, please don't hesitate to put them into the chat. We're also going to build a lot of time at the end for questions. I'll make sure that I'm pausing in between my materials as well at a couple of points to ask questions along the way, because some of the different sections, you may have different types of questions, and I want to make sure that you have time to ask them. And lastly, if for whatever reason you can't stay throughout the entirety of this session, we're going to record it and put it on the ABC Medical Hub for our webinar series. I just made that name up, but we're definitely putting it online. All right. So what are we going to cover tonight? First, I'm going to talk a little bit about what a peer-to-peer campaign is. We're going to talk about the results that we had for a similar initiative in the fall of 2020, some great results that I'm excited to share with you. And then really the meat of tonight's presentation is to go through a demonstration of the Fundraise tool. So Fundraise is the name of the technology that we use and the partner who we use to help us in driving various fundraising initiatives with the NWBA. Going to cover the timeline, and then we're going to go over questions and answers. Before I dive into that, though, I just want to remind you of something that we've been trying to communicate really since the start of the pandemic, and after we got a handle on things a little bit coming out of Q1 last year, as we were learning more about the pandemic, we said that we wanted to have 3 focus areas as a leadership team in order to drive our decision making, as well as the focus areas as we were trying to serve our membership. The first one is flexibility. We knew that we were dealing with crazy times and things that we were going to deal with things that we'd never had to deal with before. So we knew that we were going to have to be flexible for our membership, and we knew that we were going to have to ask for flexibility. I'm really proud of the way that we've been able to collaborate as a leadership team along with our membership, and we've been leaning in really hard on that flexibility. Another focus areas was to try to alleviate the financial burden on the organization, understanding that all of you have a variety of negative financial impacts related to the pandemic. Some people have lost jobs, some budgets were cut at different organizations, and we know that it's harder and harder to be an administrator and a member of organizations. And so we wanted to alleviate that financial burden while at the same time trying to bring tools and resources forward that can help you offset the financials that you lost through the pandemic as well. And then last but not least, the other focus area has been safety. And that's manifested itself in how we continue to push our national tournament out to make sure that we can continue to get a handle on the pandemic and put the right protocols in place. So I just wanted to, let you know that this peer-to-peer campaign really fits with what those focus areas were, particularly helping you alleviate the financial burden related to the pandemic. So, what is a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign? It's really just a fancy way of saying where people go out and develop a fundraising page and they ask their network or their peers to support that initiative. So how do other people define it? Is a fundraising strategy in which supporters ask friends and family to donate to a cause they're invested in. The cause that all of you are invested in, the cause that I'm invested in, is wheelchair basketball. But I think as you begin to think about the way you frame your story, it's partly about wheelchair basketball, and that's what happens between the four lines that we all train and compete on. But wheelchair basketball truly is more of a vehicle that helps fuel progress in other aspects of participants' lives. Whether you're an athlete or you're a coach, truly what the sport does is it helps us with communication skills, confidence, goal setting, and we know that particularly for our younger athletes, they get better grades, they get a better education, and they ultimately get a better career and relationships as a result of participating. So when we go out and tell that story to friends and family and why wheelchair basketball is important, I'm going to show you some results here in a little while on how we think that moves people to action. A peer-to-peer campaign also allows nonprofits the opportunity to partner with their dedicated supporters. Dedicated supporters in this case are not only all of you, our members, but alumni of the organization, other supporters of the organization, fans, other donors. It really allows us to partner with them in order to fundraise on behalf, not just of the organization. What you're going to learn here in a little while is that 90% of the funds raised by all of you for your programs, 90% of those funds are going to go back into your programs. So we're not asking you to raise money for the NWBA. We're trying to give you the tools and resources so that you can raise money for your local programs. That other 10% goes to cover the tools and the time and the effort that goes into developing a campaign like this. So it's truly not a moneymaker for the NWBA. We just want to break even, but we hope that you guys can really crush the financial goals. And the NWBA peer-to-peer campaign is intended to raise funds for your program. As I said, your athletes, the families and friends of the program can all participate in strengthening your program. And what I mean by that is, and all of this will make sense to you in a few minutes when I show you the tool, is that you will have the ability to develop a team page. Underneath that team page, there's unlimited potential to develop other pages where people go out and they would do the fundraising for your team, leveraging the storytelling that I mentioned a few moments ago. And the thing that's most exciting about this for me is that I'm not just sitting here telling you this based off of a recent article that I read or a podcast that I listened to where they said, hey, you really ought to try this peer-to-peer campaign. The truth is, we already ran a peer-to-peer campaign and we had overwhelming results. We weren't really sure exactly what to expect, but we brought in way more money for the sport of wheelchair basketball than we did expect. So it's a proven method for organizations who want to work at it. And what we found in the results that I'm about to share, is that people want to support the mission of the NWBA. And that mission is creating access to sport for people with disabilities. And instead of talking more about it, I'm going to show you what I mean about those results. So again, in the fall of 2020, we did this campaign, and you can see some of the summary statistics, and they're broken up into two different parts. First of all, there's obviously the financial impact. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about awareness. But from a financial impact perspective, these numbers were still a little preliminary. We put at the time of this presentation at the end of last year, we put that we raised $159,423. What we know is that that number grew to over $163K. We had 16 teams slash programs that participated in it. So when I say team slash programs, it could be like the Charlotte program participated in it. Charlotte, in a typical year, they've got 6 teams. So within the Charlotte program, there were 30 different members of the Charlotte program who participated from their end. But in total, there were 163 participants. And a couple of interesting, data points here. 6 people raised over $5,000. You're going to see, one individual raise over $8,000. So that junior player and his mother just went, bananas at asking everyone in their network, and not just asking once, but twice and thrice and 4 times. 17 of the 163 individuals raised over $2,500. 48 raised over $1,000. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that there were a handful of individuals who built the page and they never went and really pursued it. So there were a variety of offsetting pages that raised 0. But I think you guys are pretty used to this. When you do fundraisers in your programs, you have some people who go out in these fundraisers and they really hustle and they set the pace for your program. You have other people, just like every other team in the NWBA, you have other people on the team who either don't participate at all, or say they're going to participate and do a lot of things, and unfortunately, for one reason or another, they don't follow through on that. The same thing's going to happen as it relates to peer-to-peer. Not every member of your team is going to work the same, and I don't think I'm telling you anything new when I say that. The other half of the results that I think are really interesting is the awareness building that comes out of this. And we had 50,000 page views. As you think about the number of times that these pages were shared, the 163 pages that I'm talking about, there were 50,000 page views. And out of those 50,000, there were 16,200 that were unique page views. So think about that, 16,000 people who learned about the stories within our sport of wheelchair basketball. And who knows what that awareness leads to when you get that number of individuals who are learning about participants in the game, teams in the game, or the national organization. But if we do this right for this phase of it, not only are we going to raise a lot of money to support your programs, we're also going to continue to raise awareness for the sport. And I have to believe that that leads to other positive impact down the line, whether you get a volunteer at a tournament or you get a future donor directly to your program, or whatever the case might be. So anyhow, you could see a couple of other data points in here. The average donation size, $90. You wouldn't necessarily expect that in a COVID period, that the average donation that's coming into this type of a campaign is going to be that high. Obviously, it was directly impacted by some of the higher outlier amounts of 5,000, and there were a few of those that some of us were able to get. But 1,754 people donated to the sport of wheelchair basketball, and that's what gives me a significant amount of confidence in our ability to go out and try to replicate some of these numbers if we're able to get enough people signed up. So I just want to plug the programs that were involved. I'm not going to read them off to you. You could see the programs that were involved, and you could see the number of dollars that each of those programs raised. So, the high water mark in here, $32,700. That's for the group of individuals that had, in the Charlotte program, they had 29 or 30 pages, I think, that were activated. So approximately right on target for the average of $1,000 a page. And then you had some teams that maybe didn't get the follow through from some of the families and whatnot, where there was a lower amount raised. But for me, I'm just as thankful for the Charlotte program as I was in this case for the OKC program, because they at least listened and they tried, and they might come back and now work on this campaign with the new tool. So we'll see how it goes. But every single one of these teams participated in the results that we were able to achieve. And I think the vast majority of these individuals, I'd highly encourage you to reach out to the team reps for these teams. What worked for you? Would you do it all over again if you could? If you were going to do it again, what would you do differently? Don't be shy about going and asking them, and they might have some constructive feedback that they would share about the NWBA as well, and we would welcome you guys to have those conversations. And then I told you about Sebastian Milan, $8,084.79. Just had a mom, Gloriana, who did not relent. So for the 1 month approximately that this was going, just a really active approach. But incredible results all over this page, and many other people who, as I said, we had 43 people who raised over $1,000. So you could see some pretty compelling results here. And I put them here just to make the point, which is you can get out of this what you put into it. The technology is there. It's highly functional. It's going to support the ability to raise the money for the people who are going to be willing to go and, prepare by putting the story in, mapping out the network, and going out and not being shy about asking. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good the technology is if people are intimidated by the prospect of asking. So if any of you, have that level of being timid, then this may not be the initiative for you. But if you're comfortable telling the story of your program, telling your own journey in the sport, this technology is really going to help you do exactly that. So the fundraise tool, let's see how this works when I click this in. Okay, it opened on my other screen. Hold on. Bear with me. Gonna drag it over. Sorry, guys. So this is the technology. Again, it's called Fundraise. And first of all, I want to give you a sense of the hierarchy. This first page that you see here, this is what we call the home page. So this is the overall campaign site, which is the highest level of the hierarchy. I'm going to show you in a minute the next level in the hierarchy, which is the team page. And then underneath the team page is a fundraiser page, which is what individuals use. So the main two that you all will have to worry about is having a team page for the team leaders and the ones who are going to be the organizers of a team campaign, and an individual page. And I'm going to take you through a demonstration on how to exactly set that up. And I also just want to say for you right off the bat, you don't have to memorize it right now. Number one, we're recording this. But number two, I'm going to make sure that all of you have my phone number again. And anyone who wants to be taken through this step by step to get help so that you feel comfortable setting up your page, but also helping other members in your organization set up their pages under your team page, I'm here to do all of that with you. But what I'd like to share first is this is pretty much a modular tool. So you probably aren't going to be overly concerned about it, but there's a lot of different what we would call content containers where we can add in different content blocks. So when you see this picture up top of Nate, when you see this progress bar, you see these donor names here, and you see some other blocks here with this story we're telling about sustaining community programs, the photo, a quote from Dr. Nugent, this picture on the bottom. I've basically behind the scenes with Rebecca Markovitz on our staff really designed the layout of this page, but also the pages that you all will be using. And there's literally 2 pieces of content that you all will have to worry about for your individual page, and 2 pieces of content that you have to worry about for your team page. So there's no stressing over design. There's no stressing over technology. All you literally have to do, if you're going to manage an individual page and a team page, is have two pictures, one of you, one of the team, and have two stories, your story and the team story. And then for every other individual in your program who sets up one of these pages, they will only need two things: their story, what the sport's done for them and what their goal is, which is, most likely to get back to playing and helping their team, and a picture. So those two things are literally all that the team needs in order to get set up. And I'm going to take you through that in a minute. So this is the home page that I just took you through. This is what a team page looks like. We've kept the same image here. We have a very simple message at the top, and I'll show you where to do this in a minute, but this little square icon here is where the team photo would go. It's a really simple process to upload it. And then this text right here, when people set up their team page, they're given a prompt to fill in their story right there. There's a 2,000 character limit, which I think is plenty of space for most people. I would struggle with 2,000 limit, but most people would be able to fill in their story. And then other than that, we've already filled out some of the other main messages that help to complement the story of your team or of your individual page. So I'm not going to read it to you right now, but you can see part of that messaging right here, which is some of the stats on the NWBA, some of the impact of COVID, talking about the impact that the game has in people's lives, and then letting people know that one of the most significant sources of funding is individual donations, both at a national level and for your local level. And then what we did was we put in some content blocks to help people understand what some of the costs typically are to participate in the sport. So I put $75 for tires and tubes. You might say it's 50. Someone else might say it's 100. I just split the difference and put 75. Talked about the cost of a cushion being somewhere between $300 and $500. A set of wheels for a mid-range pair of high-performance wheels being $700. And you can see that each of these prices are going up. So I tried to find different increments of cost that all of the teams confront and laid them in here with a description of what happens and what drives that cost. So you go from $75 for the tires and tubes all the way up to $10,000, which is a trip to nationals. Again, it's a round number, understanding that some people might pay less, some people might pay more, depending on what they're doing. And then what we wanted to do as well was include someone telling their story through video. So we have a quick 1 minute and some change video of Christina Rip Schwab. She's got an amazing story of, what she feels the game has done for her, but then how she's giving back to the game. And it's just a really a compelling way, another compelling way beyond just text on the screen to compel people to give. So that's there. And then this is just some of the functionality that will help you. So if you're a team leader and you want to see how each of your team members are doing, you can pop in here, and basically anyone who signs up as a team member under your team, you're going to see what their goal is and what their progress is against their goal. And that's important for a couple of reasons. Number one, you know how it is as team leaders, sometimes that peer pressure really drives performance. So having that there is a great way to drive performance with your program. It's also really helpful in the sense that if you have one of those performers on your team who smashes the $1,000 goal, which is the default, by the way, they smash that $1,000 goal in the first week of the campaign, you can be like, hey, Jim, you can go in there and raise that goal. Don't settle. Even though you hit the $1,000, I really would like you to lean in. Maybe you could take that up to $1,500 and continue to go and make another push with your network. Their network might be more capable of giving. So as a team leader, having this functionality here is really important for you to be able to go and drive a little bit of a little bit of action through the data that comes through there. Then the other cool thing is you'll have an opportunity to see who your most recent donors were and who your top donors were. So if you wanted to do a special reach out, if someone gives $1,000, you might say, hey, Will, can you give me their email? Because I'd really like to reach out to them and thank them on behalf of the program. No problem. I'll flip you the email or their phone number, and you could go ahead and give them a call. So that's the functionality I wanted to show there. And then on the individual page, I didn't say it on the last page, so let me go back. This picture is fixed. Like I said, you only need your profile picture and your story. So the top banner photo is fixed on there, and same thing for the individual picture. But I tried to put some variety of adult team, youth team, so on and so forth, to put variety throughout the tool. As I scroll through here again, the fundraiser, the individual, will put their picture in and they'll put their story in, same way that I described below. This messaging on the NWBA is the same, but it's already in there. You don't have to worry about what edits go in there. So it tells the story at, I think, an appropriate level to help you all do your thing. And then these same, what I'll call impact blocks, are there. So really describing to people the cost and whatnot. The recent donors and top donors is in a slightly different location. That's okay. Christina's story is still in here, so that on the individual page, people can still hear what the sport has done for somebody. And then another picture at the bottom with the thank you. So all of that is preloaded as I described. So I'm going to get ready to go into a demonstration of somebody signing up for a team page and an individual page. But as I said, I want to pause for a second. I'll probably cover a lot of what might be on your mind, but I want to pause because, Tina, if there's any questions in the chat, or if anyone wants to open up their line and ask a question now, I'm happy to take it now while it may be on your mind.
So we don't have any questions in the chat, but feel free to use that function if you hear or think of something while we'll just going through this tool and getting just an idea comes to mind. Go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We'll make sure that we'll get them answered or answer them as we go. Or you can feel free to unmute as well.
Yep, very good. Anybody? It's okay if you don't. Great. I'm going to keep going. One thing I do want to say is that when people donate, some folks don't. Some folks want credit when they give a donation. They want people to see them that they're a donor for a cause, and they like the social recognition that goes along with it. There's other people, however, who don't want to get a bunch of emails from other people as soon as their name goes onto a sheet like this. So for those individuals who would like the anonymity, there's the ability when they make the actual donation to select to do it anonymously, so that their phone doesn't start getting a bunch of text messages about how great the Cleveland Wheelchair Cavalier program is and how it should be supported. I say that because I'm a Cleveland, don't mind me. So we are on this is the actual instance of, no, it's not, hold on, let me get there. I'm gonna close these other guys out real quick so I don't confuse myself. This is the overall campaign page. This is the live page of the campaign. So I told you I'm going to give you a demo of what it takes to build a page. I'll make sure everyone has this link. We'll be forwarding it out to folks along with the recording of this webinar. But really simply, if you look at the top here, it says build your page. There's other areas in here where it says build your page. All of them take you to the same location where it says build your page, you can see it there again. So it really is giving people options wherever they're at, scrolling through the content to understand, okay, either I'm going to give to this campaign or I want to be a fundraiser. So I'm going to start the process of building a profile for Coach Klatch. So I already have my page built, so that's why I'm going to do it under Coach Klatch's name. And I'm going to get to set the target for him, so that's really cool. So I'm going to make it much more than 1,000. Don't worry about that. We can edit it. So as soon as we click build your page, if you're a team leader, it's really important to say create team, right, versus fundraise individually, because you're going to want to make sure that you've got the team set up first and foremost for your program. I'm still going to, once I click that, I'm still going to have to build Jim's personal page first. That's okay. But the routing is important here to create the team so that future users have something to attach themselves to. So actually, it is giving me the team one first. So team name, Edinburgh University Fighting Scots. Edinburgh University Fighting Scots. Jim, I don't know if you want to put Fighting Rolling Scots or whatever you want to put, but it can be edited, as I said. So
that's good.
Okay, thank you. I think a really good goal, you don't put commas in when you're setting the financial goal. I think based on, the past practice of $1,000 a page, assume 10 people are going to sign up for the program. I put $10,000 in here. But it's editable. And again, if your team crushes the goal, you can edit that and up the goal at any point throughout the process. And I'll show you guys how to do that in a minute. So the piece where I said you get to tell your story for the team that was right under the top banner picture is what they call the team appeal story. So I'm just going to get something drafted here that Coach Klatch is obviously going to be able to edit, but Edinburgh University has had a wheelchair basketball program since 1997, Jim?
Actually, 1985.
Holy cow, since 1985. So what I would put if I were Jim, and Coach is going to be able to edit that, we have proudly graduated 80% of our athletes, and many of them have gone on to great careers. We have also helped several athletes make national teams and give back to the sport in many different ways. COVID has hurt us in X, Y, Z ways. We are excited to get on the court, and we really appreciate your help. Obviously, I'm just being very summary in what I'm putting here. I'm going to help Coach Klatch make some refinements to this, but this is just to show you the functionality. The next thing I'm going to do is put upload image. So I'm going to go to my desktop. Coach sent me this picture earlier. I found it from my desktop, and right away I upload the image. I'm going to have to leave one of his guys out. Let's see. All right. We'll leave DJ out. Who's going to leave out? All right. We're going to leave one of them out. So that photo's in there now. It's going to say, let's start fundraising. I don't know, saying I missed something. What do I miss? I was making such good progress too.
Leading me in a different direction, which was.
I don't know
Hey,
what the
Will.
error message is. I'm going to make this slight. Yeah.
It was your character limit on the story, wasn't it?
No, I don't.
Oh, was it?
I'll check it, Brandon. I don't think it was. I'm just going to make these a little smaller in the title. University. We want to get back to competition. I won't take you guys through it all again. I don't know why it's doing that. It could be because I just created my profile earlier, so I'm going to log out of there. I'm going to try just this last time. All right, Jim Blatch, jblatch@edinburgh.edu. I think it's because I just signed up the last one. It's really important, guys. I'm going to be sending out some automated emails from the tool to kind of give you some tips and tricks and prompts along the way. This button right here that says keep me informed with updates, please make sure that you keep that selected when you create your page. All right, so I just set up Jim's login, and now I'm going to do the Edinburgh one. We want to get back to that. That's what it was, everybody. I had my other login still on. So now I'm in there as Jim. You can see this is the Edinburgh University logo there. Hopefully you can see their picture rather. And you could see I put the really brief message there. It says, we want to get back to play. This is where we would put that much more robust message that that I had started with a minute ago. So now if I pop up here, I'm going to log out of my page. Yeah, Jim, basically, guys, I apologize. I'm just navigating this tool myself, but what you do is you first start the team page as we did, and then I'll try one more time to see if it'll let me set up the
There's a login prompt just above the picture to the right-hand side a little bit near the Facebook icon. You're setting up another login.
Yeah. Let me pop out real quick, guys. Bear with me. All right, now it's letting me create coach's page. Thank you, Mike, for that. Jim, I'll set you at 1,000 there. We'll upload your image. And then his appeal story would be, I have been coaching at Edinburgh University for 28 years, and I love developing my athletes. And the number one thing I want to do is help them get back on the court safely. So however we would say all of those things is up to you. It's really kind of telling your personal message. So I'm not going to do this step here. It says create your Facebook fundraiser because I'm logged into my personal Facebook and I don't want to get things crosswise on here. But one of the really most useful benefits of the technology that we use is this integration with Facebook. It's really important to say you don't go through Facebook and set up their donate page and their fundraise page through there. There's a way through this tool that you would go in and do that, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. So now you're logged in. I'm logged in as Jim. I have that brief message there that Jim will edit later. Edinburgh University is there. So the team page is there and the individual page is there. So I'm going to pop back over into the PowerPoint, and I may get one little revised how-to video once I get one more clean setup that's crisp and easy for you. But the main point for you on a fresh computer, if you go in to build your page, it'll take you through the prompts to create a team page and create an individual page. And you just want to have those 4 things handy: your individual picture and your team picture, and the 2 stories that you want to tell about the team and about yourself. And if you have those things ready and at the ready, you'll be able to get it set up pretty easily. So I'm going to pop back into the presentation. And let's see. I'm still presenting over there. I want to move this over. It got me a little flustered, I must admit. Okay, so some best practices to consider. And these are really lessons learned from the last campaign. You know, make sure that you've got the pictures that I referenced. When you think about the individual story or what the team is all about, you know, you really want to think about the impact that the game has had. And the more you can personalize it through a compelling story or an emotional moment about what the sport has done and what you've seen in the game, those emotional stories are going to go a really long way to connect with people and compel them to do what you want them to do, which is ultimately to give. When you think about telling the story of your program, I just wanted to put a few thought starters down here for you. How many people does your program serve currently, or how many has it served since its inception, if you have data like that? And even if you have to round it a little bit or guesstimate a little bit, that's okay. You're just kind of talking about order of magnitude. If there's particular groups that you're really focused on that you're passionate about supporting, whether that be girls in sport, or that be veterans, or that be some other group, could be people with spinal cord injuries as a generality, whatever your program is most passionate about supporting, if there's a particular segment, you shouldn't be shy about including it. Major milestones are also important. So, this year we're going to hit our 30 years as a program, or this year we're going to, try to repeat our national championship. Whatever the case might be, we're just launching a prep program this year, which is for kids ages 5 to 12. You guys can decide what those milestones are, but it's really important to put a couple of quantifiable data points in here. How many kids have graduated from your program, whether they be high school graduates, college graduates, etc.? How many kids went from maybe your youth program to go on to a collegiate program? This transformation that you're giving them through these major life moments is super important. Those are some of those emotional connections that you can make. If you've had some Paralympians or national team athletes, regardless of the sport that they've played, it doesn't have to be wheelchair basketball, talk about how you and your program have prepared them to go on and compete on the world's biggest stage. So those are some thoughts on the storytelling for your program. The next lesson learned is this isn't a George Foreman grill. So you don't set it and forget it. Put this story together and you click share one time. And you're like, well, I shared it like Will said I should do. And so, the money should just come in. No, you have to be really strategic about using the technology. I should have told you that, there's a really easy way to share to a Facebook icon. There's a really easy way to share to Twitter. There's a copy and paste functionality for your page's link that you can put it into an email, tell a little bit of your story in the email and send that link to them. All they do then is click on the link and it pulls up the giving page. You can also do that via text message. If you've got the site on your phone, you can basically from the site share it out in text message. And the most important thing to do is to say, don't get overwhelmed. Like, where am I going to start? I've got all these friends. I've got these people here, these people here. Go after a certain number of groups each day. Don't feel like you've got to spend 24 hours in the first day to get it all out there. You can pace yourself a little bit, but the whole point is to do a little bit each day and don't settle for the last post that you made or the last share that you made. Be really sort of deliberate and intentional about getting your message out there. And the other thing I'd say is be strategic about who you ask to be on your team. Nothing restricts you to say it's got to be the 10 or 12 athletes who are on my team today. You have alumni of your program. You've got other volunteers in your program. You've got other administrators around you who might support the program in different ways. And leveraging those people who might have a really good LinkedIn profile, might have a really good social network, might just be really comfortable with asking people to give money. Like, if they've got a story and they've got the willingness to do that, really just be strategic about tapping into that. So I mentioned a couple of these other ones on here about social media, email, and text. The last thing is don't be shy about going and looking at some other people's profiles. Like, I think there might be some other people who are really good at putting their profile together. Like, why not sort of copy with pride some of the things that they're putting in theirs, update and edit yours. And the number one lesson learned is the best way to get donations is to ask. People aren't, just searching the web trying to figure out who they're going to give to today. You have to go out and make your story and your intentions known to those individuals. So I want to talk about a couple of key dates. And again, before I dive into these, I just want to say, don't feel like you're on an island and you have to get these things set up on your own. I'm happy to spend as much time as you need, either for you and setting up your team page, notwithstanding the couple glitches I had here today, or helping other individuals on your team. I could easily set up a screen share and help other team members that you're working with get set up as well. So please don't hesitate to call on us. But truly, once you get your page set up, nothing stops you from starting, right off the bat. I'd say don't build your page without really having a plan for who you're going to target in some of your refined messages for those people. But at the end of the day, if you build your page, it's shareable and you can do what you got to do. That being said, April 12th is the official launch date that we're looking to launch it, and where we're going to be putting some posts out there as the NWBA and different things like that. So that's going to be sort of the umbrella communication going out on that. And then we're going to close the campaign on May 10th. And one of the things that was most surprising from last year's, how we had to follow up with people to make sure that they were taking the money that they actually raised. And I think I said it earlier, but there's a 90-10 split, and our goal is to make sure by May 31st, that's our target date, that we're going to close everything down, do our analysis on the numbers, and make sure that we're kicking out the payment to everybody. One really important point to make on the payments, teams will need to have a 501c3 status to participate in the program, and there's a variety of paperwork and forms that we're going to need filled out before we can render the payment over to individuals. And that's really important because we take our accounting very seriously as an organization, and so sometimes I think people think we're being a little more rigid now than maybe we have been in the past, and that's because we are. We're trying to follow all of the accounting processes and whatnot. So anyway, there will be a couple of forms to fill out. And then, the last point I think I've kind of touched on a couple of times, the ongoing piece is important, right? Telling your story and making the ask, that's from sort of start of the campaign to the end of the campaign. When we think about some of the teams that I showed you earlier who did really well in the fall, those are the teams that just didn't stop hustling. And Mike's on the call here today, and the number of times that he upped his team goal, and he must have upped it like 5 or 7 times throughout the process. And every time he did, the team stepped up and delivered. Questions? I'm going to close this presentation, stop this presentation, and put the site back up in case people need me to navigate somewhere in there. Maybe while we're waiting for questions, Mike, do you want to chime in on your personal experience with the campaign and the experience of your program?
Yeah, sure. So I was a bit reluctant. Years ago, I didn't trust the leadership at the NWBA level as much, and that they had done a similar campaign. I think they were taking about 20%, so the program would get about 80%, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm in NWBA leadership now, and I'm able to, I guess my voice is heard a little bit better. So there's been some tweaks, but this process is so easy. Literally, even with the login conflicts that Will was having, he was able to set up a team page for Edinburgh and Jim Glatch's personal page very quickly. And my program in Charlotte, we're 100% volunteer run. We don't have a hospital system behind us. We don't have a every year, $20,000 donor that helps fund our program. So we have to raise money every year, and we have to do that by asking. And this process, my expectation going into it, we had a golf tournament going on at the same time. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We weren't able to practice. We didn't have access to a gym. And I thought, yes, we have high numbers, people in Charlotte. Maybe we can make $15,000, which means that our organization is going to clear $13,000, and that would have been a success story. What ended up happening is there's people literally, one of the top fundraisers in our group. He's been in our program for 7 years. He probably hadn't raised $500 in those 7 years combined, and he raised over $4,000. And I did go through, and I was one of the ones I would look and say, okay, well, who's donated? I've been running this program for 15 years, so I'm very familiar with the people that donate to us. And I would say that 80% of the donors to our program during this campaign had never donated to our program again. And that was the big fear I had leading into this, is that there's donor fatigue. We're going to go out and ask people to give us money. Change that focus a little bit. Yes, technically we're asking them to give us money. What we're really asking them to do is partner with us. Everybody that's on this call, everybody that's actually going to watch this video in the future, you're vested in wheelchair basketball. You are, just in your actions, you're already doing a lot of the work. You're just asking the other people in your circles of influence to partner with you and to share in that. And that's, I think, a huge difference in the philosophy. You're not asking for a handout. You're asking somebody to do their part in investing in a cause that has great storylines. So again, it becomes a competitive thing with some of your players on your team. Everybody likes to win. And not only were the 80% of the donors new to donating to our program, I would say that probably 65% of the money that was actually contributed came from people that had never donated to our program. Personally, for me, I set my goal at $2,000 just because I was like, well, dang, I ought to be able to, everybody else's goal on the team is going to be 1,000. I've been doing it for 15 years. I should be able to get 2,000. Within 45 minutes, a friend of mine that I hadn't probably talked to in 10 years donated the full $2,000. And it's just like, hey, I've watched your Facebook page through the years and you do a lot of great things. I'm just glad I can help out now. Good luck for the team this year. So then I increased my goal. And it's stories like that. If I had never asked, that person never would have donated $2,000 to my program, which benefits the NWBA. And the amount that the team gets is exactly 90% of everything that you raise. There's no cutout for credit card fees. You get 90%. And the tax forms, it may seem intimidating. It's a W-9. Basically, it's the address where the check's going to get sent, the official name of the organization, and your employer identification number. I mean, literally, that could be done. It's one request that goes out, and the teams that send it in, myself, I'm involved in the approval process. We want to pay you. I actually want to pay you by the end of May so that it's off the books, it's done. Because that's my commitment to the organization, is to increase the financial health, not just of the NWBA, but all the member organizations. And our goal in this process is helping the member organizations raise money is one of the top requests that we get. And I'm just glad that we're able to have a platform that's so easy to put together and then share, that it's a no-brainer to I think work into your annual fundraising process, because so much of the work is done for you. And you can even send out a suggested thing, like we'll send out a suggested thing for what the team page should look like, things you should cover. You can do that for your team members, because they may not understand that telling them about how long you've been playing wheelchair basketball is important, telling them what being involved in the team aspect, how that's changed their personal life. Give them a couple of bullet points, and then they can weave that into, even if they cut and paste your thing and just put the answers out there, it's really popular. So I'm happy to answer questions individually. My name is, I can put it in the chat, and then you can also find it on the NWBA page, or just at Rolling Hornets. I'm the one that follows that. So I just really encourage you to do it, because we brought in more than twice the money that I thought was possible. So I was blown away.
Thanks for that, Mike. Appreciate the perspective and just some of those nuggets of what you experienced. The other thing, I just want to show you what's on the screen right now. I went up to settings. I was still logged in as Jim. And from this settings page is where I can go in and make the changes both to the individual page as well as to the team page. So this is the section where I would just go and hit edit for either one of these two pages that Jim is linked to. And I'm going to help him do that tomorrow to get this thing locked and loaded. But I'm happy to help you guys do that. The other thing from that settings section there that's really important is this create Facebook fundraiser. That's the button you would hit that links this up to your Facebook account. And it really just drives great integration and great benefits by clicking that. And lastly, one thing I forgot to mention that our customer rep told me about earlier is when you sign in with your email and you create the account, it's going to send a verification email to that same email account from fundraise.org. It's really important that as soon as you set it up, you check your inbox and your junk mail to pull up that email and click the verification button that's in it. And if you do that, you're really going to be off to the races in making some of these edits. And the last point that I'd make is, as Mike said, we're here to help you guys navigate this. If technology intimidates you at all, we get that. It happens to all of us in some form or fashion. You know, we're happy to help you walk through it so you don't feel like you're on an island creating it on your own. And again, not because the NWBA is going to get like some big cash windfall out of this thing. At the end of the day, we just want to make sure that as many of the programs that sign up, that they could be stronger for the remainder of this season, but even more importantly, so that they come back next season. Questions?
Yeah, Will, I got one, and maybe you already answered it. So I was just looking through. I verified my my email address and stuff for the page. Christina's story, is that stays there, or can we replace that with, like if I wanted to use Trey or something like that?
Which story are you referring to?
It wouldn't be in the settings. It's underneath. So when you were showing us the page and you go down through and it's the minute long Christina rep.
Yeah, that's fixed, Jim. That's going to stay there.
Okay, that's fine. I couldn't remember if you said that or not, so I just wanted to kind of get that for sure. Okay.
Right, and for example, like if you wanted to talk about one of your major success stories, so hypothetically, if that's Trayvon Jennifer, I think on the team page and even your own individual page, carving out 2 or 3 sentences where you can talk about how proud you are of, someone who came from DC with the background that Trey has and how he works for, a government agency today, and he's going to his 3rd Paralympics and whatnot. Like, I think we can weave that into the text.
Good idea, Will. Add a couple of key phrases, right? Always good to add a quote from Trey in his own words, and that helps to supplement as well.
Absolutely. Is that my good friend Larry?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. One of the best communicators I know. What else? Questions, comments, concerns? Anyone feeling excited? Anyone feeling apprehensive or uncertain about it? Even either end of the continuum, whatever it is, happy to help you navigate that. And by the way, if every single person who joined this call decided it's not for me, we respect that choice as well. We want to spend time with the people who are comfortable doing it. And for some of you, it might be a later round. My encouragement though is that you give it a try, and if you want to get a a group of your athletes together and or parents of athletes together to talk about it, I'm happy to come on and have a follow-up discussion with you guys to do that. You may not have the same comfort level to influence them on the technology, and I think I'll be even better next time that I go through this.
Hey, well, Larry, again, I'm glad you made that point. So my colleague Ken Carwell, who is our Chicago Adaptive Sports representative, was on the call too this evening. They just came off a fundraising campaign where they raised a substantial amount of money, 15,000 plus, with a 50-50 popcorn direct mail. And I was wondering if you thought maybe this is a little too early to go to the well again, in spite of what you just said about, you know, if you don't ask, you don't know. I guess I'm a little concerned about donor fatigue and wonder if closer to the beginning of the 21-22 campaign, it would make more sense, assuming that this is in a 6-month cycle. Or can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we definitely will have another round of this at the start of next season. We want to get, to your point, a couple of times a year to offer this technology up to help teams and whatnot. As it relates to your primary question on whether or not it's too soon, I'll just give you an anecdote. So in September of last year, I built one of these pages in our prior technology because I didn't want to ask other people to do it if I was unwilling to do it. And I think, you know, through those efforts, I might have raised $16,000 or $17,000. Then on Giving Tuesday, which, as you know, right after
It's all right.
it was just
Oh, your birthday's coming up.
Hello.
So I like birthdays, but so then Giving Tuesday, Larry, was like right maybe 6 weeks after the end of that campaign, and I was able to go out on Giving Tuesday and raise another $8,000 or $10,000. So there's some people, when you guys did the popcorn thing, who maybe might not have liked the format. They may not like the actual sort of thing with the popcorn. It is pricey popcorn, even though it's a fundraiser and whatnot. So in this sense, they might see this as being something that goes more direct to the team in full. So people might be more compelled with something like this and less inclined to want something for themselves in return. It's more about them giving. And I think that the potential to tell individualized stories through this tool is just a little different than maybe what you guys did with the popcorn campaign. So food for thought, no pun intended.
Will, Andy added a question into the chat about going to the NWBA webpage to create or start a team page.
No, that's not where you'll do it. I'll issue this link in a follow-up communication so that individuals know exactly where to find this. It's also in the presentation. I'm going to share this presentation out with all of you, and we're going to put the presentation right next to the recording of this video so that everyone could access all of the information. And then obviously, if after all that you all can't find it easily, I'll get it to you another way. Did I see something in there from Joe? Hey, Joe. No worries. You guys are welcome. I got to tell you, and maybe we'll wrap it up after this. I just want to make maybe a couple of closing points here. I think historically, a lot of the emphasis that at least has come in the recent history from the NWBA to teams was, you need to help the NWBA. We've got this thing going on and we want you to help us raise money to help the organization be viable and sustainable and all of these things. The shift that we've been trying to make as an organization is that we want to bring tools to all of you to help you weather the storm. And, you know, we're going to use these tools for ourselves as well to raise money at a national level, but we don't want to always put the burden of raising money for the organization on all of you. We want you to collaborate with us. We want you to support us. We want you to share things that we're putting out there. But literally the thing that makes me very proud about tools like this, what we did in the fall, and for whoever takes advantage of this this time, is that for the first time in probably a fair amount of time, we're able to now bring tools and resources that are helping you raise money at a local level to sustain your programming at a local level instead of asking you to do the work for us. You still have to do the work for yourselves, don't get me wrong, but we're at least bringing the technology and some of the technique to you, and we couldn't be more proud about it, and I'm really hopeful that some of you will partake in it, and if you even feel 50-50, that you guys reach out and we can help answer questions that you have at a later time. Okay. All right. Well, I won't keep you any longer. I know we've gone over, and I appreciate your patience as we work through a couple of those glitches, and I hope you learned something tonight. I certainly did, and I'm excited to work with all of you on this. So have a great evening, and thank you so much.